Time Walk with Me.
Hey everybody! Welcome back to Time Walk with me. The commander of this deck came in a pre-con that I really wanted to upgrade, but instead I ended up taking it apart. So I rebuilt it into what it is now, though I ended up using many of the cards that were in the original pre-con. Not on purpose though. After I built the deck originally, I got curious and I looked at a card list of cards that were in the original pre-con, and yeah, a whole lot in there ended up back in there, so there's a lot of common sense in here. And we start off with Sefris of the Hidden Ways. Sefris is a legendary 2/3 human wizard who costs a white, a blue, and a black mana, which I believe is called Esper. Once per turn, when one or more creatures goes into your graveyard from anywhere, you venture into the dungeon. For those of you who don't know, venturing into the dungeon means that you choose from among 3 dungeons: Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Lost Mine of Phandelver, or Tomb of Annihilation. Put some kind of counter on the first room and do what the room says to do. If you're already in a dungeon, you just advance your token thing to the next room and do what the room says. Sometimes you have to choose among multiple paths. There's a 4th dungeon, but this deck doesn't deal with it. Then, whenever you get to the last room in a dungeon, you will have completed that dungeon, and you return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this deck is all about going through dungeons, discarding creatures, and resurrecting them for less than it costs to cast them. This is known as cheating out creatures, but it's not actually cheating. We'll go ahead and get the ramp and color fixing out of the way first. We got Arcane Signet, Archaeomancer's Map, Burnished Heart, Core Cartographer, Shattered Seraph, Solemn Simulacrum, Soul Ring, Thran Dynamo, and Wayfarer's Bauble. I know I said before that I only have so many Soul Rings and so many Arcane Signets. They're in this deck because I took 2 decks apart to build this. Yeah, and you'll probably see at least one of the creatures from one of them in here. I've decided that this deck's main method of getting creatures into the graveyard will be to discard them from my hand. Sefris doesn't care how they get to the graveyard, so I figured this is the most repeatable way to do it. I only have to discard 1 creature during each player's turn to get the maximum effect out of Sefris's first ability. Buried Alive. This is way better than discarding creatures from my hand, and Sefris still sees it. Collector's Vault. This is a strictly better Jellum Tome. Compulsion. Emissy Tome. Gravebreaker Lamia. Jellum Tome. Jellum Tome? Jallum Tome? I don't know. Merfolk Looter. Obsessive Stitcher. She doubles as a way to get a creature back from the graveyard. Selhoff Entomber, and Vohar Votalion Desecrator. These cards bring creatures from my graveyard to the battlefield. Some of them also double as ways to get creatures into the graveyard and trigger Sefris to send you through the dungeon. Body Snatcher, Breath of Life, Doomed Necromancer, Hell's Caretaker, Late to Dinner, Lurus of the Dream Den, Null Priest of Oblivion, Rescue from the Underworld, Resurrection, Samwise the Stout-Hearted, Unburial Rites, and Victimize. Originally I was going to have only white resurrection cards in here, because bringing creatures back from the graveyard into play is usually black's domain, but white actually has quite a few cards that do it. But there were too many good cards to put in there, like Unburial Rites, Victimize. Victimize is probably my favorite resurrection spell. These cards either send you through the dungeon or help with your dungeoning. Cloister Gargoyle, Delver's Torch, Dungeon Delver, Dungeon Map, 50 Feet of Rope, Harma Pashar Ruinseeker, Immovable Rod, Nadar Selfless Paladin. This is one of the commanders whose deck I took apart to make this deck. Planar Ally, Radiant Solar, Secret Door, Shortcut Seeker, Thorough Investigation, and Yuan T. Malison. Yuan T. Malison. Yeah, something like that. Some of these have their own way of coming back from the graveyard, while others are just good creatures. Archivist of Ogma, Ashen Rider, Demon of Catastrophes, Esper Sentinel, Golem, Patient Plotter, Narfi, Betrayer King, Rakshasa Debaser, Reassembling Skeleton, Sarah's Emissary, Skyclave Shade, and Toxrill the Corrosive. Yes, I'm sorry, I had to put it in here. I have it. It was calling to me. It said, put me in your deck. I will make everyone unhappy. And I said, okay, fine. I want my opponents to be unhappy. Some of the creatures in this deck have ETB effects that you'll want to repeat, or you might need to rescue a creature from destruction. Crystal Shard and Portal of Sanctuary. Akroma's Will. This card is just amazing. Cunning Evasion. This is great for protecting your creatures that have attack triggers. You might be reluctant to attack with a creature, thinking, oh, they'll just block it and kill it. But with this, you don't have to worry about that so much. You just have to recast it. Generous Gift. Legion Loyalty. This is great for getting more ETB triggers from creatures. Virtue of Loyalty. This gives all your creatures pseudo-vigilance and makes them stronger every turn. And Voidrend. Snow-covered islands, plains, and swamps. Narfi comes back from the dead with snow mana, so I figured why not make all the basic lands in the deck snow-covered. Crystal Grotto. I'm pretty sure this card is a bit of a hidden gem, and it doesn't get talked about enough. It doesn't enter the battlefield tapped, it taps for colorless mana, it can help you with your color fixing, and it gives you a free Scry 1 the turn it enters the battlefield. I'm pretty sure I'm going to put one of these in every new deck that I make, as long as I have them in stock. Dark Slick Shores, Darkwater Catacombs, Dungeon Descent. This is a great utility land for dungeon decks, like this one. Exotic Orchard, High Market. This also serves as a sack outlet. Port of Carfell. This can get something good in your graveyard and resurrect it right after. Port Town, Prairie Stream, Rogue's Passage, Shine Shadow Snarl. Hey, I said that right the first time. Awesome. Skycloud Expanse, Spire of Industry, Sunken Hollow, and Temple of... So that's my deck. That is Sefris of the Hidden Ways, a character that isn't really in D&D. They just kind of made it up for this set. But it's still a good card. I still like it. And that's my deck. And tell me what you think. Be nice, and I'll catch you next time.